Okay, so it is time for a reading vlog, one that I hope you have been highly anticipating, because in my TBR game for the month of April, which we are still in, I'm about to read the book, we had a poll pick where I ended up having to only get books based on their 1-star review, and because it was a poll pick, I only told you the 1-star review to have you vote on it. Overwhelmingly, the majority was for the middle grade book because I ended up figuring out the easiest way for you guys was probably to vote by age groups. So we had an adult book, a young adult book, and a middle grade book. I will say I had a couple people actually guess the adult title and the young adult title, but not very many people actually guessed anything, and I had nobody guess the middle grade, even though it was the one that was overwhelmingly picked. So what I'm gonna do now to introduce this is we're gonna start from the adult book and go down to the one you guys picked, which is the middle grade. I'm gonna reread the review, the 1-star review, and show you the reveal of what the book was. And obviously the first 2 books, the adult and the young adult, did not get picked, so we're not reading them in this vlog, but the middle grade book did. So I'm sure you guys are excited about it, hopefully, or at least want to know what it's about. And then I'm gonna read it in this vlog, so you will get to see the whole process. But I'm very excited. I'm about ready to pick that next book to read, so I'm gonna do this one. And so like I said, let's just start with the ones you didn't pick first. So the adult one, the 1-star review said, literary fast fashion. Fast fantasy? To the people rating this 5 stars, get well soon. Whatever you're going through can't be easy. Anyways, I'm extremely happy I read this on my library app instead of paying real green US dollars for a book that was so obviously rushed by everyone involved. Like I said, I think I had a couple people guess what this book was, mostly in my Instagram DMs, so I don't know if anybody else saw it on YouTube or not, but it was Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I know a ton of people loved Fourth Wing. 5 out of 5 stars. For me even, it was a 5-star read. I have heard that this one did feel rushed and was not necessarily a great follow-up. Some people still really enjoyed it though, and I do feel like sometimes when you get into a series, the second book is not as good. So the fact that some people were able to guess this made sense to me. I do need to read this because I also have the 3rd one. We'll get to this eventually. Okay, moving into the young adult. The star review said, DNF at colonizer magic. This was after the constant mention of I am black and everyone is racist, even though I judge everyone based on their looks, and yeah, I'm crushing on this basic white boy after 2 days, and just never mind that my personality is extremely annoying. That was one sentence and I couldn't even get through it on one full breath. It continues, my first near DNF was the info dump chapter, which makes it impossible to understand what the hell is happening after that. But I have a feeling it doesn't matter too much. They want the woke points and will like this book. I really tried, it's terrible. For this one, I had more people actually guess what this was, and it's Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I do feel like people guessed this because of the fact that they mentioned magic and the character is black. However, this is one that I have seen a lot of people rave about, and not just this book, this series in general, and it is sort of underrated in the fact there's a lot of other YA magic type of books that are not written by a black author with a black main character that seem to do better. So yeah, I definitely do need to read this one as well. It just has not happened yet. And then moving into the middle grade, the one that everybody's excited for. So the 1-star review said, 0 stars is more accurate. This is promoted as a book for children. It is clearly not a book young children should be reading. There is profanity, disrespect for parents and elders, the Lord's name is taken in vain, and there is same-sex attraction. This book is extremely secular and belongs nowhere near someone who is desiring to have a Christian worldview. I think a lot of people liked this 1-star review because this is one of those, like, the epitome of a 1-star review. It tells you everything that they did not like about the book, and it was hitting so many of my check-marked boxes. Like, I don't care if there's profanity or disrespect for parents and elders, the Lord's name taken in vain, or same-sex attraction. Like, this is a lot of stuff that I feel like is fine in a book, even one geared toward middle grade age. And so, without further ado, the book is Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. This is a very, very popular middle grade series. And that was part of the reason I picked all of these books. Very, very popular, tons of ratings and reviews on Goodreads. And this is going to be dealing with a young girl, preteen age probably, because it is a middle grade novel, who I guess is dealing with the fact that, like, I think it's her uncle was a fantasy fiction writer, and when he dies, she inherits some of his stuff, and it turns out that the stuff that he was writing might not be fantasy, which I think is a great premise. The original cover of the series had a, like, skeleton guy on there, which is probably this black part here. These are, like, the more recent US editions of the books, which I do like, but, like, I do feel like maybe the original cover portrays this sort of 1-star review a little bit better. Like, I just think it is something that maybe not everybody wants to read, but at the same time, it is much beloved, and I'm very, very excited to get to this one. Like I said, it's middle grade. I think it's gonna be a very quick read, and very fun, and like I said, tons of people love this. So this is the one that 1-star review was talking about, and this is the one I'm gonna be reading next. Okay, so I finished the laundry. There's a basket in here because Elliot likes to play Ghost Basket, like what they do on Bluey. And so I took about an hour to do everything, and that was like multiple loads, sorting, folding, everything, putting away. And while doing that, I listened to Skullduggery Pleasant. That 1 hour, I got about 26% of the way in, which translates to about 99 pages. I probably could like pull up my actual book and like see how many pages it actually is in here, but like we'll just go with that. We'll just say about that. And so far, so good. The narration is pretty good because I was listening to the audiobook. I originally thought I was going to read this as a physical read, but I was doing laundry and I was like, let me see if we have an audiobook through my library, and we did. I will say the audiobook has a little bit of like music between every chapter, which that's not like my thing. And at one point it said end of tape 1. So I don't know how long ago this audiobook was originally made. Our main character is Stephanie, and we do start off with the fact that her uncle has passed, and I think like a funeral sort of thing, memorial maybe, where she meets who is going to end up being Skullduggery Pleasant. We don't really know that at the time, but we get introduced to her family, who are pretty good, and like her extended family of like other aunts and uncles and cousins who are not so good, more selfish, that kind of thing. And she gets invited to the reading of the will, and we have more instances of like her aunt and uncle not being the best people. They really want like all the stuff, but she is left with the house and the royalties from the books, because her uncle was an author who did fantasy books, but we do come to find out that they might not have been like complete fantasies, especially because Skullduggery Pleasant, if you saw from the original cover, which I think I put in this video, is basically a skeleton. He is a skeleton, he is alive, but so she is 12 in here, and she does not like technically inherit everything until she's 18, but we go from there. She gets to go see her house with her mom, and stuff happens where her mom eventually has to go somewhere else. Big storm, nobody can get there for her, but because she's 12 in a house that she's used to, she's allowed to stay. But it ends up starting this sort of adventure with Skullduggery Pleasant, and right now, based on where we ended, that sort of part ended, and I'm sure we're going to continue with more adventures, maybe like a bigger story arc as well, I think would be great. But so far so good. So far I'm not really seeing all the like 1-star review, like I didn't like this, you know, not listening to your parents, blah, blah, blah. Like, she didn't tell her parents what she did, but she wasn't, like, blatantly lying to their faces, which I'm okay with. I mean, it's a middle grade fantasy adventure. Like, a lot of middle grades and young adult books, these kids go off and do stuff that, yes, in real life, we probably wouldn't want our preteens doing, but at the same time, I mean, come on. So, yeah, we're gonna be reading more soon, and that's where we got to today. So I'm doing another vlog concurrently with this one, and it's not quite the same, like it's not a reading vlog, but I almost forgot that I'm doing this as well. So, the last couple days we've been out and about. Yesterday was independent bookstore day, and we went to some independent bookstores not quite exactly right near me. So of course, I listened to my audiobook mostly on the way home from them because Leon and the kids came with us. So we did a lot of like talking and stuff on the way there. But then everybody's tired on the way back. Most of them take a nap on the way back, and I get to drive home. So I get to listen to my audiobook. So I just wanted to update that I'm actually 83% into Skullduggery Pleasant now. So mostly, I think it's a pretty well done middle grade adventure, fantasy sort of story. I do think the way it's written is a little bit more blunt, not even necessarily simple, but more like she did this, she said this, da 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 da. And yet the story is still interesting. Like, I'm still enjoying it. I don't think it's gonna be necessarily like my new 5-star favorite read type of thing, but I am enjoying the sort of like magic that is going on that, you know, Stephanie, our main character, is discovering and things like that. I like this sort of like friendship that she's developing between her and Skullduggery Pleasant. I like that kind of stuff with it. I should probably, even though I'm listening to the audiobook instead, hold up my actual copy of this so you guys can see what I'm talking about, because like that's what we do on BookTube, right? We talk about a book and we hold it by our head the entire time. So I am enjoying it. I'm actually probably going to listen to it more tonight because I sort of need to get this vlog out before I get my other vlog out, just because I'm still working on that kind of one. And I feel like I can knock this out. How much time do I have left in here? 40 minutes left according to my app. So yeah, I could definitely do this tonight after the kids go to bed, which I think I might. I will say the whole reason that we're reading this, one, I own it. I knew I wanted to read it. I've heard lots of people love this book, but like the reason we picked it, the reason you picked it in a poll pick, is because of that 1-star review. I will say I understand the taking the Lord's name in vain, because there was like one instance of our main character saying, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." I don't necessarily think that's like a horrible thing. I've also heard the interpretation of like taking the Lord's name in vain actually meaning doing stuff for God, but like in a way that is not nice or with the principles of Christianity. And so not just saying his name, but like acting upon stuff in his name when it's not appropriate. And I like that interpretation better. We also had the whole like, what was it? Her not listening to her parents or like acting out and things like that. And like, yeah, I mentioned before, this is a middle grade adventure. Of course she's gonna be slightly lying and getting out of things to go and do other things. I feel like that sort of comes with the territory of this. Sometimes it is adults saying like, please don't do this, and then her having to do stuff anyway. And some of it has been for her to save people. So like, I don't think, again, that's necessarily a bad thing. The one thing I will say in here that I'm pretty sure we had in the review is it mentions something about same-sex attraction or something like that. Is that like how they worded it? Something like that. I have not come across that in here at all. And so I am now like, where the heck are my LGBTQ characters? I was sort of waiting for them, and I have not gotten them. So yeah, at that point, I'm like, I do want that. Yeah, we had profanity. I've heard worse. Disrespect for parents and elders. I don't think it's as bad as they say it is. The Lord's name taken in vain, we covered that. And then they had same-sex attraction. I have not seen it. Maybe I haven't gotten to that point yet. I would love to have this more blatantly in there because, again, I would love if we had some more queer characters and things. One thing I will say that they did not mention in their 1-star review, but I've seen as we've gone into this, there is a lot more like violence and stuff, and not necessarily too gruesome for a middle grade audience, but like think about what they're talking about in their review and what else is also in here. Like, Skullduggery Pleasant is literally a skeleton guy, and he talks about how he died and why he's still alive, and we've had other violence currently going on with him and things like that, but like actively happening and being described in the book. Again, I don't think it's necessarily too much for a middle grade audience depending on who is reading it, but they did not complain about any of the actual like violence and blood and gore, and I think we've had guns and things too. Like, nobody cares about that? Like, we've had things going on that I would say I would be a little bit more concerned about with certain middle grade kids, you know what I mean? So that's where we're at. I am hoping to finish this tonight just because I only have 40 minutes left and I want to see where we're going. I don't think this has been too long of a book, and I think I mentioned actually last time that is like, the audio is obviously a little bit older. We still have those like music in between each chapter type of thing, which I don't need, and sometimes I do feel like takes me out of the story a little bit. But I think I mentioned at one point they said tape. They did say disc. I do think I mentioned that wrong, so it's probably not as old as we actually think, but it has multiple times been like, end of disc 4, music, disc 5, and then they go into it. So yeah, we'll see about the end of this one and see what my official rating will be. But I know it's a long series as well, so we'll see. Okay, it's the very next day, and I did end up finishing this one last night. I think I'm giving it a 3.5. Like, I do think it was more than just mediocre, but not quite a 4-star where I'm potentially going to want to reread it. Not a new favorite. However, like I said before, this is a very long series. I'm very curious about more. So maybe I'll like try and borrow the next one from the library, or I think there's at least book 2 and book 3 on audio as well. And I can just sort of continue that for a little while to like maybe see if, you know, it's because it's like a slightly older series, first published in 2007, like that. Yeah, it's an older series. I'm wondering if they've gotten a little bit better with each subsequent book. I do think the actual overall story plot, if I was the younger middle grade audience, I do think I would really, really enjoy it. And like I said before, the review, like, sure, fine, whatever. I'm concerned that that person was not as concerned about the deaths and blood and gore in here, because they don't pull any punches with that, because that was not mentioned in the review, but it is a thing. I will also say I did not see any same-sex relationships in here unless I completely missed something because it was a small bit because of the audiobook. But I did do a little bit of searching, and it does sound like our main character eventually, as she grows up, has a girlfriend. So there is going to be that in this book series. But as of this individual book, I didn't see that. I didn't see why it would be an issue to this person. Not like I ever think that's an issue in the first place. But yeah, solid middle grade, especially for a first book in a series. You can tell it's written a little bit older. I think that's just sort of the way that the writing style was a little bit more back then. Not 100% where I would expect my middle grades to be now, because there are amazing ones out there. But fun and different, and I would definitely want to try more. Maybe not buy it yet, but otherwise, yeah, I think that's good. I'm glad I read it. I am hoping you guys had a good time with this, especially since you had to vote on a book from a 1-star review, and this is what you guys picked. So I would be very excited to do this again if you guys ever want to do this in the future, and that is going to be it from me. If you guys like this video, give it a thumbs up to let me know. Subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. I do have videos coming out Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, so I will see you then. Bye!